Thank you very much. They are setting my slides. So before the slides comes up, just to introduce myself and my twin sister, I am Dr. Thusha Rani, and I'm currently attached as a senior lecturer with IPG Kampus Bahasa Melayu, while my sister is teaching in one of the suburban schools in Daerah Gombak. And this study is very close to our hearts simply because both of us specialized in visual literacy. Eyesight is inside the interpretation of visual images. So when we talk about visual images, it is the skills of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, which are pertinent in learning and to understand learning that runs throughout the curriculum. So we are going to look into how visual literacy actually encompasses these skills and how we could actually use visual literacy, particularly the use of images in the classroom. Studies have shown that connections between the arts and academic achievement are having a very good connection, and incorporating arts, specifically visual learning strategies, include paintings and images. Within the Malaysian context, there is a lack of study in understanding how images support students' needs in writing narratives and how students communicate this creatively. And this is where we found the major gap, because there are no studies in this area. And it's the responsibility to offer a variety of pedagogical approaches to meet the needs of students within an inclusive setting. And that's our idea, actually. So what are the benefits of adopting images? So as I told earlier, it all encompasses in visual literacy. So it also supports multiple intelligences, which is propagated by Howard Gardner, and also multiple literacies, which include multimodality, again, visual literacy. It supports different theories of cognition. And here, sorry for that, we look into Alan Pavio's dual coding and also cognitive load theory, which is propagated by Atkinson and Schriffin. Moving on, it also helps reluctant learners and also struggling students, besides promoting autonomous learning. And here, so we see how students get a first-hand at experiential learning. And it also addresses significant and current issues because images are everywhere. And you could use these images effectively to actually look into various skills. So the framework that we are going to use is based on social semiotics, particularly the conceptual framework of visual analysis propagated by Kress and Van Leeuwen. And here, the model that we actually came up with looks into the selected genre of narrative writing, and we have came up with this model called the ANIM model, which is actually stands for analyzing, looking, and interpreting. And we looked into specifically using paintings, and I shall go on to that. So what is the reason? Has the use of images increased students' proficiency in narrative writings? And what are the perceptions of students towards the use of images in the classroom? So the methodology that we actually used is, of course, it's a qualitative study, and the procedures, these are the procedures, writing of narratives on selected images, data based on the assessment of narratives and structured interview sessions conducted with the respondents. The three important themes explored were self-motivation, communication apprehension, and effectiveness. Moving on, the quality of the narratives were analyzed for language use, creativity, and originality. So the participants, there were actually a total of 10 students, and the sampling is purposeful simply because it involves the identification and selection of individuals, and this is actually done to understand a phenomenon of interest. So these are the results. How has the use of images increased students' proficiency in narrative writing? So this is a line graph, and you could actually see the pre and post-test results. So there is a significant amount of increase from the students' work, and this is actually done before showing an image. How did they write that particular narrative? And then after showing the image and after analyzing the image. When they analyze the image, we actually use it as a scaffold, and we actually look at how the background, the shot, and the salience of the image actually brings on to their interpretation. And this is the second question. What are the perceptions of students towards the use of images in the classroom? So there are three themes there: self-motivation, communication, apprehension, and effectiveness. So these are some extracts. There are 6 extracts there. You could read them. The first one: I never knew I could write so well in English, because the image, sometimes as teachers, we just show the image. We actually don't teach them to unpack the image. And that is where we play a role, because the unpacking of images are important for the students to actually come up with vocab and move on to write better narratives rather than just looking at a picture. So yeah, that's the second discussion. So what are the findings here? So we came up with this assertiveness that there is so much to do when you read an images using a framework. And this is where our ANIM model comes in. Students wrote good narratives with the aid of images. Images provide meaningful lessons and encourage the development of multiple intelligences. Student-centered pedagogical approach promises a myriad of explorative insights. Increased motivation among students, because when they get to interpret, they actually come up with various narratives. And finally, art forms complemented with digital tools are also multidisciplinary. We talk about new pedagogies of deep learning, how art itself can be used across the curriculum. We talk about images not only from foreign painters like Claude Monet or Picasso, but we also talk about paintings like Zulkifli Buyong's Kalambu, the mosquito net, which I personally have used with my undergraduates, and also Ismail Embong's paintings themselves. So these are some of the student work samples. These samples are actually from narratives written by Form 4 students from Dr. Thusha's class. So this is a particular painting of water lily from Claude Monet. So they actually looked at it, rather than looking at more of the water lilies, they actually looked at the pond. So the second sample there has some mistakes, but you could actually see how the image has actually given depth to their writing. So moving on, this is an example from my own student. Okay, this is not a narrative, but this is where we are extending images beyond writing narratives. So my language arts student, Mira, actually came up with a haiku when she was shown this particular image by a Malaysian painter, this painting, A Cherished Moment by Tan Gek Hun, which shows a mother and the child. And having explained the syllables in a haiku, she came up with this very simple haiku. And I was very surprised because my students are non-TESOL majors. They are Bahasa Melayu majors. So pretty in red, my mother, the Queen of Hearts, pure inside and out. Yes, so this is an haiku. And with that, I have come to an end. But I just want to also show you all these images here, which are part of my classwork, because we were told that everything has to be in 12 slides, 10 to 12 slides. So I have put it all in this last thank you slide. Right on top there, those are my students, and they have actually looked into an image, and they have come up with a poetry recital, which they used CapCut to videotape and upload it on YouTube. And right below that is actually a Padlet extension where the students actually put up their poems on Padlet, and they could actually look and criticize each other or comment each other. Students love to publish their work, and you would be very surprised at even the not so proficient student, so to say, in the English language always has something to say with the right kind of tweak. Right on top there is the designing of book covers, which my students came up with using Canva. And we actually analyzed Chehusna Hasri's short story, Maria, and I asked them to actually imagine Maria and come up with a book cover. So that was an extension, and they had a jolly good time doing that. And finally, that's Nurul. We actually used Google Space in the classroom, so I brought them to Musée in Paris, and we looked at Mona Lisa, and I asked them to say something about Mona Lisa. Doesn't need to be the fact that it's Mona Lisa, but what's their interpretation talking about Mona Lisa when we were actually doing a speaking skill. So there's so much to do when we actually use images. In this case, we actually used paintings, but visuals are all around us, from billboards to advertisements to book covers, and it's only coming up with the right kind of scaffolding to support our students and to motivate them to come with good products. And to end, I like to give this quote: art or arts transform lives. It gives us the power to question, to confront, to explore, and to challenge how we think about the world. With that, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Thusha. And